All right. Welcome to day 2 of our Sweet Success Workshop, Mastering Your Payments and Legal Agreements. And so with me today, I have to day 2 of our Sweet Success Workshop, Mastering Your Payments and sorry, gotta mute, gotta mute that other screen. All right, let me also, thank you for joining, Tanya. Let me enable waiting, take that off. All right, so we are good. All right, so welcome to day 2 of our Sweet Success Mastering Payments and Workshops. With me, I have Sheila Folk with Travel Industry Solutions. And before we dive in, I just want to do a really quick recap of what we did yesterday. So yesterday, we started with the money decisions that you need to make in your travel business, talked all about the different options based on being high ticket or low ticket seller, different features that you need to consider. And today, we are going to be focusing on the legal agreements and terms inside of your travel business and what you need to know as a travel advisor. And so, since I am not an expert in this space, I've decided to bring the expert in the space, Sheila, to that. So, for those that have joined us live, welcome. Nice to see you, Katisha, Tanya, and those that watch us in the replay. Do not always forget to let me know that you watched by commenting and letting us know. So without further ado, we're going to do today a little bit different than what we normally do in a workshop. So Sheila has been gracious to give us an evening of her time. And so I'm very, very thankful for that, Sheila. So I'm going to start with that. Thank you. Thank you so much for sacrificing an evening to spend with us.
You know how much I love you to do this. We were just laughing about this because even God himself could not convince me to do a webinar this late in the day. But I just, oh my gosh, every chance I get, I tell people how incredibly brilliant you are, how you have just created such a great program and a platform. And of course, you know, I've shared with you many times how highly I think of you. And I love you so much. Thank you for having me here.
So you do this every time we talk and you always like bring me to tears. So thank you for that. I appreciate that. I never expected, so I do appreciate it and really do value our friendship and also the partnership that we formed for travel advisors. So with that, for those who do not know Sheila, she is with Travel Industry Solutions. She has about 30 years experience in the hospitality industry and started at Travel Industry Solutions in 2020. Is that correct?
It was very late 2020, the end of the year is when we launched it at a Nexion conference, actually. Yep, late 2020.
So
So
let's start with why did you launch Travel Industry Solutions and what problem are you solving for travel advisors? For those who don't know.
I think the biggest thing is when I got into the travel business. So, as you mentioned, I had about 30 years experience inside of different hospitality verticals, working with technology companies, DMCs, tour operators, products, and also worked in the risk management space. And when I started my travel agency, I went, oh my God, this is like a crazy, messy, ugly industry. There's not a lot of great tools available to help people in their operations, to help protect themselves. And, I had such a background in risk management, and operations. I just felt lost, like I needed this. I knew I needed this, but I had no place to go. And so I did develop solutions for my own travel agency. And I mean, I had crazy, unheard of success in that business. And after I was giving away my secret sauce for quite some time, I recognized that there were a lot of travel advisors who shared my pain. And I could see it in their faces, whether it was who to book with, or, oh my gosh, do I need to have this type of protection? I need a credit card authorization. No, you actually need a full terms and conditions, which is an authorization for your credit card payment. I was just looking and learning and listening, and I found that other advisors had the same pain points as me. So when I decided to develop the product, I first took it to my host agency president, and I am under Travel Leaders, who then brought in Travel Leaders and Internova, and they were just like, oh my God, yes, you need to do this. I also think that we are bombarded all the time with products that we should buy, right? We're bombarded with shiny objects every single day. But what is not spoken about are the really critical tools that you need inside of your business. You need an incredibly effective CRM to create efficiencies inside of your business and deliver up terms and conditions and email communication, which, oh, by the way, should also protect you. We're just bombarded with a lot of shiny objects. I call it shiny object syndrome. So it's not talked about a whole lot until the last few years when we started penetrating the market more and more and more. And the other thing too, that a lot of travel agents don't realize, Sundey, is there are $3 trillion in travel transactions a year that have legal implications. 3 trillion. $150 billion a year in
Now
chargebacks.
you're saying that, right? 3 trillion transaction, not million, not billion.
$3 trillion in transactions that have legal implications.
Yeah.
$150 billion in chargebacks inside of our industry every year. And I'm going to tell you, 65% of that is card not present fraud. It's first party fraud.
Wow.
It's
That's a
insane.
pretty sobering number. And I think as advisors who are holistically in the online space, people just don't think about that. A lot of the advisors that I work with, we talked about the shiny syndrome, right? People are inundated with all these things that seem sexy and are great to think about and all of that, but terms and legal agreements are not sexy. But you just mentioned the risk that us as advisors fall under. 65% chargebacks.
Not
That's huge.
present.
That's a huge risk that we incur, expose our businesses to, and it just screams the necessity to manage that as a business owner.
Well, and the interesting thing too is, we have two models in our industry. You have a hosted model and you have an independent model. And as independent agents, you can either be a net agency or a gross agency. So you either collect funds into your agency and then pay the supplier, or you collect the card and then pay the supplier on behalf of your customers. And I was just, I just lost my point. Okay, so we have two models here. Oh, I know what it was that I was going to say is that when you're in a gross model, whether you're independent or you're hosted, the first thing that I hear is, well, I'm not the merchant of record. So I don't really need to worry about this. But you do have lots of exposure for your agency, wrongful death, group incidents that can crop up. In addition, suppliers after COVID, especially like DMCs and tour operators, they've now said, if we get a charge back, we're coming back to you for it. And so having the protections, the audit trail is critical. You need to have a robust audit trail. That is critical to helping your supplier to defend those chargebacks. In addition, when you're a good steward of the industry and you are a good partner to your supplier, that's when the big wins come for you. That's when they start stroking the $5,000 and $10,000 co-marketing checks for you to promote your business alongside of them. And so when you think about your business and what you're doing inside of your business, you can't just think about the fact that you aren't the merchant of record. You do have exposure. When you are the merchant of record, your exposure is even bigger. And if you are looking to grow your business and you want to leverage co-marketing funds from your suppliers, you need to be a good steward for your suppliers. It's a whole like circle. It's a complete circle that comes all the way around. And that's the piece that a lot of advisors are not thinking about.
I agree with you. I, I think I it I sort of stutter through this because I wonder, like, why is this not something, I've had many businesses, I've opened and started many businesses, and understanding the fact that I needed either, insurance, and I also needed contracts and terms and all of that online and offline was something that I've just sort of known, but it could be because of my background. But I think in this industry, people start their business and they think, oh, well, that's not necessarily applicable to me. And you just mentioned something earlier about, just the liability or potential liability that an advisor has if a wrongful death happens, right? Or some accident happens to your client. And even what you mentioned about the suppliers coming to you if they incur a chargeback, bad story, but I had this happen to one of my clients. And it was a fraud situation. Client was fraudulently using a credit card, and I think it was American Airlines or Delta Airlines or one of them came back to her, and she didn't follow the process that her host agency even recommended. So she didn't get a copy of their ID. She didn't have terms in place. And she ended up having to cut that $2,000 check out of pocket. I think it was even more than that, but she ended up having to lie. The host agency was no, you didn't follow procedure, you didn't have your place, and the supplier came after her to do it. And so it happens. So I think people thinking that it won't happen to them or it can't happen to them just are sort of an ostrich. What is that? Where an ostrich puts their head in the sand and they're not thinking.
I'm going to tell you right now, it happened to me twice.
Yeah.
Right before the whole like COVID was here, but it wasn't, travel wasn't shut off to Europe. I won't go into all the details, but it happened to me twice. And guess who did it to me? They were both friends, not my clients who I didn't know.
Yes.
And one of the friends was the guardian of my child if I die. He was my lawyer. He was my best friend since college. And after my husband died, he became the named guardian if I die. I mean, how crappy is that? And he did a fraudulent chargeback against my supplier because he was a creditor's rights lawyer and he knew how to work the system. And it was just bonkers. I'm not friends with him anymore. He's not my lawyer, and he's definitely not named as my child's guardian. But the whole I only book friends and family, they're the ones that are going to turn on you the quickest. Here's the bottom line, guys. You are going to protect your family first over anybody else. And if you're like me, you are a mama bear who is going to protect your children, your husband, your homestead. And he happened to lose his job. And so they couldn't afford the $15,000 trip. So here's the thing, you're going to do it. All right. If You are walking down the street with your kid and your neighbor's kid, and there's a car coming at you, and you could choose between your child and the other. You're going to choose your own child
That is correct. Every day. Love
every
you or not,
day.
I'm choosing my baby.
That's right. And I kind of went on, but I'm really passionate about it. And I think it's because I've had things happen to me. I've even had things in the travel insurance space. And fortunately, I had good clients. But I know you kind of want to ask, a few questions, but I want to bring up travel insurance acceptance and waivers. Everybody should get their client to sign a travel insurance acceptance and or waiver, even if they're buying insurance. And don't go to even our big insurance companies who have very light, weak waivers. You want something that says, I'm not an insurance agent. I am recommending products to you based on my supplier network. Your job, traveler, is to understand the policy, understand the coverages, understand the policy you're choosing in your state, what happens with cancellation, what happens with changes. And and you need them to accept it. And here's why. I use a particular travel insurance company. I've used them since the day I had my agency. I've booked hundreds of thousands of dollars of travel insurance with them. I have a client who always books a name suite on the Regent World Cruise. On a recent one, they decided to go for the second option of travel insurance because it was less money. Well, their home build was delayed, so they decided to cancel the 25, or no, it was the 24 World Cruise, and they were in penalty. They were fine losing the $20,000, the 20 plus $1,000 from Regent. But because they live in Texas, they were in penalty. And this particular insurance company won't issue vouchers if you're in Texas. They were out the $13,000 they had paid for the travel insurance. Well, that could have been horrible for me. It wasn't because they book with me. But just imagine that you have a client who has saved up their whole life or for 10 years to go on their $5,000 trip, and they choose a travel insurance. Something happens where they have to cancel the trip and they can't get their money back because they live in a state that doesn't dictate that or require it. And they're in penalty. And so that insurance company refuses to give them a future voucher. Had they chosen the company that I always work with, it wouldn't have been a problem. But I can't know all of the insurance laws from state to state, and I cannot possibly know every single insurance product out there. So I want my clients to agree that it's their responsibility when they choose a policy to
Yeah.
understand the coverages. So you can't just look at it as a waiver and checking the no box. It's a really, really important component.
And I think and I'm glad that you talk about insurance from a client perspective, because we do have a responsibility to offer insurance. But I never really thought about it the way that you just described it. Is just because we have a responsibility to offer insurance, we're not excusing the client from having a responsibility to understand the insurance that they get, to be responsible for making the decision on the types of policies and the coverage that they're going to get. I think that's really important distinction to make, right? Our responsibility ends with giving them a choice and making sure that we let them know that it's available, but they still have the responsibility. And I think in the kind of world that we are in now, people just, they don't want to take responsibility. They just are like, oh, it's not me, or I don't need to know. They don't read. They don't look at the fine print. And then something happens and they're going to point the finger, unfortunately, at the travel advisor, right?
Yeah, yeah. I have actually a good friend of mine who's a travel advisor, and she's actually a subscriber to TIS, but she booked for a friend, and so she bypassed all of the terms. She didn't set up any of the email automations and the triggers. And inside of our email automations, we look at function. Okay. Again, stop buying into shiny object syndrome where you need shiny, beautiful headers. Your clients don't care. They care about what is inside of the communication that you're sending them, and you need to care about the communication that you're sending them.
Exactly.
Right? So you need to care about that. And because she didn't set up some of the automations, it came back to bite her in the butt. And it was all around travel insurance.
Um, I think if we were to stay on, we could talk a lot about different scenarios that we have seen or heard or even had ourselves happen, because I've made a lot of mistakes starting in my business when I started many years ago, that I wish I had known that, because you touched on this, uh, about when you were in your business and there was no resources. I'm going to talk a little bit about the elephant in the room. I am sure many of you all on this line did what I did when I started in 2018. Is I knew I needed to have terms and I went to Google. I
Oh
went to Google,
God.
right? So talk to us about that, Sheila,
No.
why that's a bad
Oh gosh.
idea, and the
Super
types of
bad.
terms people really need to make sure, what type of agreements that people need not to Google search and actually get in their travel business.
I'm going to tell you right now, some of the biggest mistakes that I see travel agents make is they copy and paste clauses that they have found online. They try to DIY everything. They are putting themselves in major jeopardy. I'm not a lawyer, okay? My business partner though is a lawyer. And I will tell you, I should be a lawyer at this point in my life. I have just learned about so many nuances since I've had TIS, well beyond the whole risk background that I had. There are definitions inside of your contracts. So you could literally capitalize the wrong word and it could throw off the meaning or the intent behind that particular sentence or paragraph. You can negate other paragraphs. It's like, these travel advisors go online, they go, oh, that sounds really good. I should add that to my terms and conditions. But you don't know if that's going to negate something that you have, even if your attorney prepared it, which is why we do not allow changes to our agreements without our approval, although you don't need to. And then the other thing that it does is it leads to a lot of ambiguity and lack of clarity. So when you go, if you're in a situation where you do go to court, there's a lot of conflicting provisions in there and there's not clarity. And then when you have confusion, then it usually leads to a bad outcome for you. And so you really do need to make sure that you are using somebody who really understands your industry. And what I like to say is I bridge the gap between what is practical with our legal team. So I look at all of the practical implications inside of a travel agent's business. How does it fit in their workflow? What is the temperature with their clients? What are the different scenarios that can happen or occur? And then we listen to our customers as well. And then we take that and we formulate enforceable agreements that factor in a lot of different things that can happen inside of your business. If you go to an online forms provider, they don't understand your business. They don't understand seller of travel law. They don't understand the difference between gross and net and how suppliers play a role and how they shouldn't play a role, or what happens if you have group travel and what types of protections you need for yourself and your travelers. And then, of course, they legalese everything. So then your traveler is like, I'm overwhelmed. I don't want to sign this. I'm like signing a second mortgage on my house. So they don't understand what they're signing. So clarity, consistency, it's super, super important. And then also, when you're looking at your legal suite of products, you need to understand, guys, that a solo lawyer who practices travel law, dabbles in real estate law, entertainment law, whatever other areas of law that they dabble in, they're not experts in privacy law, employment law, travel law. With TIS, we employ people who are like true experts inside of their particular discipline. And then we monitor the laws. I mean, there's an old way of doing it and a new way, right? Do you want to pay an attorney, a retainer to monitor laws, to pick up the phone when you call, to update all your documents? It's ridiculous. It's so unaffordable for the average travel agent. And that goes back to one of the reasons why I created TIS, because we are told to buy, 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 buy. And before you know it, we're so deep into all of these shiny objects, we don't have what we need to really run our business.
That's correct. I think that's really important. Distinction is because, back in, and I'm not even really talking travel industry specific, right? So back in 2006, I contacted a lawyer, to form our business and get all the stuff that we needed. This is when we opened up our barbershop in 2006. That was $3,000 just to do that one transaction. But, I'm looking at our particular industry and the changes that are happening at such a rapid pace, just from internet policies and what you need to do in your business, and the 50 different privacy policies you need to now have on your site, terms of use and all of that. Can you make a little bit of sense out of it? Because one of and I think I had a big aha moment when I was doing training for Travel Pro Suite with our users, that this whole time I had been talking about traveler terms and versus website terms of use. Can you explain a little bit the difference of that and why we need both of them in our business? Because most of the people that are following me are in the online space.
Sure. So everybody needs a client terms and conditions. Whether you decide to have what we call a travel services client agreement, which is a single page document that links to your full terms, whether you decide to have that or not, the core is you need a terms and conditions for your travel transactions. And you must have a really robust travel insurance acceptance agreement / waiver. Those are the absolute must that everybody has to have. Okay. Do not do enough. Don't do another transaction without those.
That's right. No exceptions, right?
No exceptions. And I'm going to tell you, as we've gained, more awareness inside of the marketplace over the last few years, we have big companies that are coming inside of our platform, massive insurance companies, chargeback companies, and they're going, holy cow. I cannot believe what you have done here. This is unbelievably brilliant. And to have this tailored at this price for agents is incredible. So whether you come to TIS or go someplace else, guys, don't do another transaction without that. The other thing, if you are using cookies, if you are using forms, if you are collecting any type of information on your website, you have to have a privacy policy. It is the law. It's not like maybe I'll have one, maybe I won't. And I'll tell you, travel agents are being targeted right now for lots of different things. We have just a lot happening inside of our industry. It is the one thing that travel advisors overlook, and you're required by law to have one. Okay. You have to tell people how you're using their information.
So I'm going to pause this for just a second because I really want to sort of hit the hammer on what you're saying and hit it hard, meaning that one of the two questions when we onboard our clients in the software that I ask is, because it's part of the setup, right? Setting up your terms and conditions is part of the setup. And so we talk about the client terms that you need. If you're selling travel, it's not a nice to have. You can't go copy your host. Like we were in VIP yesterday, and one of the travel advisors was talking about that. Their upline told them to go to the host agency and go copy the terms that. No.
Well, can I interrupt you right there?
Let's address that sort of thing.
Let me interrupt you right there. This is becoming a comment that we're hearing a lot. We're hearing it with franchises and hosted agents, is that my franchise or my host agency has stuff and I'll just use theirs. Let me tell you something. Those terms protect them, not you. And you are creating a problem for yourself. Do not rely on somebody else's terms that are not built for you. There is a big problem inside of the franchise space because they provide templated websites and they have a booking terms on their templated websites. But a lot of the franchise owners have their own terms and conditions, and a lot of them use TIS. And what has happened is it's created conflicting terms. And so now this creates a problem if there is a lawsuit, because which terms govern? That is a huge issue. We've been trying to hammer this point home to these big franchises and to other, agencies who are suggesting that they just rely on those terms. They're not meant to protect you. They're meant to protect the company in which you affiliate with.
And that's an important distinction that I hope that everyone who's listening live and also when you watch this in the replay, that your terms that your host agency, and again, this is not a slight to try and say host agencies are bad or what have you, but they've created a set of terms to protect their business, as you need to have a set of terms that protect your business. And you also need to have insurance that protects your business, named insurance that protects your business. So this is really about ensuring that you have the right vehicles and processes and agreements to protect you and mitigate risk associated with your named business. The thing that I also want to just sort of plug, right? This is sort of, I was telling somebody yesterday in our workshop day number 1, this is my soapbox workshop, right? Where I want to really bring it home to everyone, because this is not something that we talk enough about. But one of the things that's super important for you all to know is most of you all are independent. Like I don't know your agreements with your host agencies, but you're independent business owners. You're not employees of your host agency. You're an independent business, and as such, you need to set up as an independent business, right? And you need to have the right mitigation in place to protect your business. And this week, that's what we're focused on. So, all right. So Sheila, can you just summarize for us the major agreements that we need to have and the difference between the two?
Yeah. So you need a client terms and conditions. Those are your booking terms and conditions between your agency and your client. The travel insurance acceptance waiver, a privacy policy. Many people probably don't fall into the requirement for the California privacy policy, but we offer one and you should have it on your site. Terms of use for your website. That is different than your client terms and conditions. So your terms of use basically is how and where you disputes will be resolved. So what are the rules of the road for your website? Things like how your website will be used, protection for your IP, limited legal liability for third-party links and other information on your site. If you decide to register with the DMCA and the Copyright Alliance to have protection there, if you have a site where you are allowing users to come in and post, and there could be potential copyright infringement there. There are provisions that should be included there. So it is entirely different. Please do not go to your website and create client terms and conditions and put your terms of use underneath it, or try to combine it. They are totally and completely separate agreements. They are not the same. They do totally different things for you.
That and I have to piggyback that statement with, like, the big aha to me came there is, even when we were doing and we were writing up the instructions for our Travel Pro users and really making that distinction, but between the fact that there are two separate terms that you need to have. So traveler terms, so we're calling that traveler terms. And then we have website terms of use, and it may be called terms and conditions with some people, but again, they are two separate agreements that you need to have in your business. And then you mentioned privacy policy, so that's three. And then the dreaded cookie policy. What is that? And what I will tell you guys, just in summary, if you're using Facebook, you're using any social media platform, they're using cookies. And if you've got
Absolutely.
a business account with any of them, they're using cookies. 99% of you all have some sort of form that's collecting a name, address, and some other things. So again, you're collecting that data and you're doing it online. Even if you're not using our suite and you're using another form builder, Google Forms, that's all cookie data. That's all being cached in. I mean, again, these are all technical terms. The point is, you may think it's not applicable to you, but if you're in the online space, it's highly likely that you've got cookies or that are being used, and you need some policy associated with that. Now, the beautifulness, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, no, go ahead, finish. Tanya had a question, and it kind of ties back to a comment that I was making earlier. Go ahead and finish your thought, though.
The beautiful thing about partnering with someone like Sheila and myself is you don't need to know all the mumbo jumbo. You just need to know that you need it, and you need to get it, who's going to deliver it to you in a way that's packaged and keep you covered. Again, when I started in 2018, we went to a service that provided legal agreements, but I'm telling you, the laws are changing rapidly and a lot of times. Like, so the amount of updates and the changes. So it's not even like you can buy a package and be rest assured that you're good, because the laws are changing, and what, like Sheila said, what people are going after. We are definitely a more exposed industry than others, because I think there is so much non-compliance, if that's the right term, being used here. So I'll come off the soapbox for just a second. I just want to express to you at least 5 areas of agreements that your business needs to have and set up properly and surface in the right locations on your sites and in your business process.
Yeah, that's the minimum. And you made a good point about one and done. That's another misnomer. Contracts are not one and done. I can tell you, since I've been in the business, so much has changed. And sometimes it's daily, sometimes it's monthly, sometimes it's yearly. I will tell you that we are a subscription product. And the reason why is because we monitor the laws. We help you implement a lot of the tools inside of your business. We don't just send you things and go, here you go, figure it out on your own. And then we update them. And with our HTML embeddable policies, our updates happen while you sleep. So if you make a change to your agency profile, say you change your, cancellation fee, or you go from hosted to independent, our platform dynamically builds your agreements based on your business setup. And then when we make updates, we push them out. And don't let me forget to talk about the DOT stuff. But Tanya, I want to answer Tanya real quick before we kind of move off of the topic I was speaking to. First of all, you have a duty of care to share your supplier's terms and conditions with your customers. That's part of your responsibility. But this goes back to your host agency's terms don't protect you, and neither do your supplier's terms. Your supplier has terms that protect them, not you. And so you need to have terms and conditions, if you're a hosted agent, that clearly delineate everybody's role and responsibility. Suppliers have their terms. Suppliers have their own rules. I have my own rules. These are my terms and conditions. This is where my liability begins and ends. And oh, by the way, traveler, here's the terms and conditions for the supplier that I've just booked for you. You need to understand their terms too. It's a huge component. So you have a duty of care. Their terms do not protect you. Your terms protect you. And, it's a little bit challenging. There's some friction. Um, there's a mindset with travel agents that they don't want to send their own terms and then send the client their terms and conditions. As well, to create, more paperwork for their clients. But there are workflows that you can utilize to attach supplier terms and to get signatures all in one fell swoop. And so, don't let a mindset hold you back from protecting yourself and protecting your family and your assets and all of that good stuff. And then going into the DOT and the changes, the constant changes that you were just talking about, Sundey. Since I've been in the business, we've had COVID, we've had wars, we've had customers who have gotten killed in other countries and travel agents who have been sued. I know that one big insurance company, E&O, has dealt with an incredibly high number of wrongful death claims with travel agents and their E&O insurance. And now we have the DOT ruling. And what's really interesting, first of all, if any of you on the call are not familiar, so in summary, the DOT basically said, if you're the merchant of record, you're responsible for refunding the client. Well, if you don't have the money, if the airline has the money, how's that going to work? So ASTA lobbied on travel agents' behalf. The bottom line is that this was ramrodded through. There was very little thought put behind the knock-on impacts to suppliers, package suppliers, cruise lines, corporate agents, air consolidators. And while it is only still for the impact regarding refunds is still for the merchant of record, what you need to understand if you are a travel advisor who is not the merchant of record, you have a lot of impacts to your business as well. So in addition to having clarity in your terms and conditions, if you charge ticketing fees, there's very specific language that you need to include. You need to understand all the policies of all the suppliers out there and how they're going to handle the notification process, the change process, the refund process. You are the front line and you are the ones that are going to be feeling the impacts the most. So you need to be familiar with what internal controls you need to be putting in place for your booking processes up until travel. You need to have the right terms and conditions in place. You need to understand what to ask suppliers, what questions, how they're going to operate. All of this goes into effect in October. And you need to be prepared. Now, in TIS, we've already met with an inordinate amount of package suppliers, cruise lines, insurance companies. I have a call with Barbara Hearn at Allianz Travel Insurance this evening to talk about what implications there may or may not be with travel insurance. And we've met several times with legal counsel, our legal team, with the legal team at ASTA. I spent a significant amount of time over the weekend gathering a lot of information. Our legal team's going to put everything into plain English so you can understand the impacts depending on how you work. But crafting guidance that says, here's what you need to say to your client, when you need to say it. If you book this type of thing, here's what you're going to send. This is going to be your cadence. Here's your checklist for suppliers. Nobody's doing that. They're not thinking about the knock-on impacts to non-merchant of record travel agents. And there will be. So please be prepared for that. And that's a huge change. And there's going to be another one that comes up.
And like I that's a mouthful that what you just said. And I don't know that there's enough people, like you said, talking about this. So this is if you sell airline tickets, right? If you offer and you package up airline tickets as a part of your packages, right? Even though you may not be the merchant of record, the airline company is. Even if you are not doing direct payment and you're doing supplier, there's still an implication and an impact to your business is the point. And that's how I'm interpreting what you're
That's
saying
right.
is your business
Exactly.
still a part of the cog, and you need to understand the cog in the wheel, which is you, and how to respond accordingly. So there's a lot more that I foresee that we will need to and will continue to talk about as it relates to the Department of Transportation's ruling, as it relates to the airline piece. You know, there was something else I read. I want to say it was last month or maybe it was the month before. You know, I touched on this a little bit in yesterday's session, but the idea of transparency and pricing, that's also another ruling that's come up. And so, you know, can we talk a little bit about that and kind of how you guys are interpreting that in your space?
Yeah, so as a matter of fact, I was just talking to Jody the other day about it to break it down for our members because I have done quite a bit of reading and he needs to get with a couple of our team members because there's lack of clarity around it. But basically, it's it's a move by the state of California to stop junk promotions that are misleading. And so you're going to have to disclose all of the fees up front. What I'm waiting to hear back on is if that applies to including it in our proposals. So I'm not quite prepared to tell you that I have all the answers on that, but it is a very big topic. And it's limited though to a smaller number of people, but please do realize that the bulk of travel agents live in 3 states.
California, Texas, and
Florida, Texas, and California.
I mean, and the numbers that, you know, I know the numbers too, just because that's where a lot of our advisors are, and that's where the people are traveling from too. So,
Well, and I can tell you, we have a heat map, to see who is using our product and where, and those are the 3 that light up. And then we get a little bit in the Northeast. We're in every state except for Alaska.
yeah, I don't know why. What's going on? I think you're going to have to do some
Who
work there.
wants, I mean, listen, it's great to visit in
Like,
summer, all right, but do you really want to live there in the winter?
No, but I'm competitive. I'd be like, I'm not in Alaska. Like, we need to do some campaigns in Alaska so that we can get in Alaska, right, for the summer travelers. So that's what I do think is interesting to note though about that California is the state, because they, to me, if it's going to go down, it normally goes down in California. So the fact that they've said it makes me wonder, will you start to see other states lean towards that too? Because I actually think it's a good ruling. I personally
don't think it's bad. I mean,
I
normally I
don't
don't agree with what they're doing out there in California with all their legislation because sometimes they take it too far.
yeah.
And they don't think about the practicality of it. It's a good idea, but there's impractical implications to it. But I do foresee it. I think I read something where there were other states considering adopting it. So there's more to come from our team. Right now, they're pretty entrenched in a few projects. Of course, we just had our massive annual update to, and the other thing that happened, the Department of Labor ruling, we had to update every agreement that related to independent contractors just to make sure that we had various scenarios covered in a way that they wanted the language displayed. That happened this year too. So let me tell you, there's always something happening. Because
What
we offer independent contractor agreements for like virtual assistants, marketing people, plus your independent travel agent. If you're working with an influencer, if you have a referral relationship with a retirement community or your realtor friend or another travel agent. But we did our big update. And by the way, Sunday, the new website policies will be released June 6th. So good news for you, all of your clients who are using TIS, it's going to automatically update for them.
that's
They don't have to worry about copying and pasting it over to their website because they are using our embeddable codes.
So, and for those that don't know what that means, if you're using Travel Pro Suite or you're using your own website, what Sheila has done is created a way for you to have integration with your agreements when you sign up for Travel Industry Solutions that keeps the agreements updated. So as they get updated, all of your information gets merged together and it's already there and it's magic, right, from your perspective. So I think this is a good lead into. So for those that aren't familiar with your product and aren't familiar with what it is that you offer, let's talk a little bit about what Travel Industry Solutions is. And you've had some major changes in the last year, just from 2023 to where we are in 2024. Talk to us a little bit about what you've been doing in your space and why this is a good time to join your software.
Well, it's been a journey, guys. I am a non-technical founder and I had been bootstrapping this company for a long time. And we finally got to the point where I actually have employees. We have a couple of offshore teams, and then we decided to build technology around our product. So we moved away from being downloadable legal agreements to dynamically created agreements. So you are literally protected in less than 3 minutes after you set up your agency profile. So we built the technology around it. And then part of our well, we offer other solutions too. So we offer email sequences and workflows, some education on varying topics. Understand that our customers are all over the board. They're brand new. Some are big agencies with 50 ICs. Some of them, had massive success and now they need to walk back a little bit and look at their financial situation. So we do all kinds of topics, finances, you name it. But I would say what we really focus on is the legal piece of it and understanding how everything inside of your business should function together. So we do a lot of open houses and collaborative type workshops where you can bounce stuff off of other advisors and of course meet with our team to talk about any business challenges that you have. So we built the technology, we have other resources, and then this year is a massive push. We will have automatic integrations with specific technology players in the market. So if you're using Sunday's product, you'll be able to authenticate between our systems and have, if all the email scripts driven in. If you want to augment what OTB offers with what we offer, so you'll have some automatic integrations and they will be live integrations. Several other big providers inside of the industry, some of their tech teams are already building out what we need. And then another big piece is we're pushing really, really, really hard on the insurance companies to give you a discount on your E&O if you're using TIS. So what has happened in the conversations with the insurers is there's no gray. They've all said it's black and white. Every one of our customers should be using TIS hands down based on your platform. So hopefully we can start to bring some of those other tools to you, insurance discounts. We are going to be onboarding a bookkeeping service for you guys. So all on like your operation stuff.
That's
But
beautiful. And so you have membership levels right now. Can you just help a person who may not be familiar? Because the link that I'm providing you all is a link directly to the ability to get one of the products or one of the membership levels. Can you explain to our
yeah.
audience what the differences are?
Sure. So we have three membership levels. The silver and gold are for solo agents only. These are single user licenses. You cannot purchase it and share it with 2 or 3 or 5 or 10 other agents. It's not sustainable for any business to allow you to share a license. So please understand that first. Silver is going to give you the basics. It's going to give you your 5 agreements. Planning fee, we give you 3 different planning fee examples. You can copy and paste or make it your own. Cancellation agreement, terms, TSA, travel insurance. So if you just want the basics, if you want everything, you want all of the website policies, all access to all of our tools, with the exception of an agency email policy and an independent travel agent agreement, you get that in gold. That's going to give you everything. And then when you move into platinum, those are for agency owners who have ICs. So if you have ICs, you want to get this because it's going to give you your independent travel agent agreement, the agency policies, and you get 5 user seats. I'm going to tell you right now, what is the date today? It is June 4th, 2024, because you are recording this. By the end of this month, these prices are going to change. So if you want to get your terms set up, you better, and you want to save a little money, silver is going from $279 a year to $429 a year. And you will be locked in for life at that price. We've had a couple of price increases over the years, but we've always locked in our legacy members. You do have 2 options right now for payment. You can pay over 12 months or you can pay in one lump sum. It is financially advantageous to pay in one lump sum. You are locked into all 12 payments. It's not you come in and I pay 1 month and I cancel. It's 12 payments. We will get rid of the monthly payment option for new subscribers after the end of this month. It'll only be quarterly and annually. So if you do need to get your ducks in a row, do it now, because you will fall into that legacy customer category.
So for those who are asking, how do you get access to all of this amazing? So let me just summarize, right? Because when you meet with me, I'm going to ask you, do you have terms and conditions? And then I'm going to ask you, do you have these 5 that you need, right? You need website use, you need privacy policy, you need legal, you need your client terms, you need cookie policy. You know, there's like a standard 5 that I'm going to ask you that you have. And so the way to do that is if you go to this website, this is Sheila's website, but then you also want to use a coupon code, which is OTB001.
No, OTB 10.
Haha, that's the reason why. I don't know why I have such a hard time with my code, Sheila. OTB 10.
Please make sure you enter it. There is a place on the payment screen for you to enter the OTB coupon. You get 10% off, guys. So please make sure you are entering it. You'll just look at the payment page. It either says like enter discount code or coupon code. You might have to click on it, but it's OTB 10. And I'm just verifying that. I'm going
I
to
don't
do
know
it.
why I have such a hard time with my own code. So here, I'm going to share the screen. Can everybody see the screen? Hopefully you all can see the screen. And then when you go down and you scroll down, you know, gold is going to be the membership that's going to give you all of the policies that you need. And then when you sign up, For Gold, you're going to get access to the policies and all of the features that Sheila did. If you give me proof, there's actually we have a lesson inside of Travel Pro Suite. If you're a Travel Pro Suite user and you want to know how to connect them, we do have training on how to do that. And we actually are including that as a part of our onboarding on our second call, as long as you have proof that you are an active member of TIS. So here, this is where you're going to subscribe. Gold's going to give you everything. You can get away with silver, but if you get gold, you'll subscribe. And then this is where you're going to put that code.
Oh, no. First, you have to sign up on the platform, and then you're taken to the payment page.
There
So
you
the
go. So
code isn't here. So you would have to actually sign up Sunday. Then you're
right
taken
here.
to a payment page. But it is on there. And
so you'll create your account right here, right? And then you'll get to the actual payment page that will allow you to do that.
And
All
we
right.
do have live member onboarding calls too. We have one-on-one calls. We have a whole like over 100 help center articles. We have, videos and things of that nature. But the beautiful thing is that Sunday, if you're using her system, she will set everything up for you. Adonica asked if you have TNCs and you want them reviewed. Well, you can go pay a lawyer $500 an hour to review your terms and conditions for you. Or you can go to TIS and you can pay less than $500 and you can get every legal agreement that you need. But we do not review other folks' legal agreements.
All right, these are all great questions. Okay, so let me make sure. I think we covered all of I'm going to open it up while I look at my list of things that I wanted us to make sure that we go over, but I think we've hit them all. Listen, I want to just, I'm going to just step on the soapbox just for a little bit. I'm not going to step on it for too much longer, which is what are some of the things that, as travel advisors, we need to be really conscientious of, right? When you start a business, nobody under the sun, moon, or earth says you don't need internet, right? You go, you sign up with Comcast, whoever it is, to get internet. Like, that's a no-brainer. Everybody has a cell phone, right? You got to be able to communicate with your clients. Terms are not optional. Legal agreements in your business when you're doing business should not be something that you consider to be optional. Understanding the money transaction, where to put the terms at the right spot, right? Just having them and not using them. Like, I have a lot of advisors who are like, yeah, I have them, but I don't use them. Well, that's not doing you a bit of good, right? So you got to buy into it, and then you got to use it and make sure that you're surfacing and showing it in the right spots and in the right processes in your business. So the soapbox that I'm on is, this is not an optional, this is not a nice to have, this isn't a frivolous thing, it's, some shiny, it's a must. If you are in business, you need to have insurance, you need to have your own policy, you need to have your own terms and conditions. And frankly, in this day and age, you need to have your own system to manage your business. Now, you don't have to use Travel Pro Suite to do that. Would love for you to give us a try if you do decide, just like Sheila said, if you don't use her, you need it. It's a question of, what's going to give you the easiest and the easiest way to implement and support you once it's implemented.
I'm going to tell you, Sunday, the one thing I wish I did from the very beginning was to not rely solely on my host agency's system. Because it's inevitable that you will either switch host agencies or you will go independent at least once in your career. And it was a hard lesson for me to have to export all of the data and not have a really crystal clear record of my customers and interactions. So I really do encourage you guys, if you are hosted, leverage the system for your host agency to enter in your commissions, because you need to get paid, obviously. But do think about having your own CRM and system. And listen, if you're just starting out, I mean, do you absolutely need to spend the money on it? No, there are workarounds, but you should consider the time that it would take you to do things manually versus automatically. And if you become a member of TIS, you'll hear me say all the time is money. Every time I have to click on a link, open a thing, open this folder, drag and drop over here, time is money. And everybody wants to know how I got to $8 million in sales in 2 years with just two people. It was full on operational efficiency and automation. And it allowed me to go sit at the bar and have lunch with my book during the week where all of the wealthy businessmen frequented and strike up a conversation. And boom, I had a client. Or to join this club and to go out here. And, that's how I got the people booking $500,000 private jet trips is I was out. I started with the first $900 sale and I treated them like gold and I automated everything that I could. And I did whatever was necessary to allow me to focus on my money-making activities. So that's a really key component too when you're first starting out, guys. It really would have been so much easier when I had the transition when I left the host agency for a new one to then not slow me down on my money-making activities because then I have to go in and recreate stuff.
In 2024, so this is the time of this recording, right? The most powerful thing that you have in your business is your data, your client data. And really understanding. So one of the things that Sheila just said is really understanding that, when you're using someone else's system and then you effectively are passing off your asset to be managed by someone else. And so if that system goes down, gets corrupted, gets whatever, that's you not being able to access and being able to piece all that over through multiple systems. That's really the beauty of why we did what we did, which is to create a one-stop shop for you all to manage your client, the journey that your client goes with you so that you have all of that information. It's power. It's powerful in your marketing. It's powerful in your operations. And it makes you a better service provider to be able to have all the information about your client. So that's enough of my soapbox on that. Sheila, as always, it is a pleasure, talking with you and, partnering with you to provide advisors with, a holistic solution. Again, terms, legal agreements, it's not a nice to have. It's a mandatory that you have. There's nobody enforcing you to have it, but gosh, it really, when I was listening to the agent that I talked to, and she did not implement her terms like we talked about, and she didn't implement the procedures that we talked about, and she got caught with that $2,000 bill. For some agents and some advisors, that's a closing of the business event, right?
That's missing your mortgage payment or your
Right?
rent payment. Those are really important things. And the beautiful thing about working with you, Sundey, that I like is that that we're beyond forms. We're actually trying to educate you on all of the things that you are doing on our behalf with a lot of your customers. Is how do you implement it? What is the impact of not implementing it in the right place at the right time? And that's the most important component. Outside of, I've talked about, online forms providers or your attorney down the street or somebody who isn't a specialist in a particular area of law. How do they help you to address your challenges, the when, the where, the how, and what's, on the horizon, always thinking ahead.
Yep. It's beautiful. So do you have any, I think you've alluded to, I'll start to wind us down, alluded to some of the things that you've got in the horizons. You mentioned the Department of Transfer ruling and the fact that you'll be having more information. Is there anything else that you could share with us that you have as a sneak peek inside of Travel Industry Solutions that people, so price increase is one of them. If you guys didn't catch that, you want to get in before the price increases so that you can grandfather your price in today. Anything else you'd like to leave our audience with?
Well, I think there are a lot of pieces of functionality inside of our system. So we have built out our own e-sign technology. So you do get e-sign with our platform for all member levels. And you can also use our platform as like a DocuSign type platform if you have your own agreements and you want to move them inside of TIS. So you can execute those agreements with your customers from within our platform. In addition, we do have a credit card vault. So for gold and platinum members, you get a credit card vault. So when you are sending your terms to your customer to sign, you can attach supplier terms all within the same screen, enter the amount you want them to authorize, and then they get a link. They open it up, sign terms, enter in their credit card details, click on any links, download any documents on a single screen. So it eliminates a lot of friction. And we have the most robust audit trail in the entire industry. Hands down, our audit trail is what is making these massive insurance companies take notice of us. And it's why some of these big consortia are starting to license our product for some of their members, because the tracking the audit trail is vital for defending against chargebacks and lawsuits. So that's a really important component. Those are all part of the platform. We do have the DOT ruling, the guidance package. It will probably be around 40 or 50 pages. That'll be for TIS members. All members, regardless of your membership level. We may come back on with Sundey and just touch on some of those topics for her followers in her group and her customers, however she decides to structure that. And then we do have the technology integrations on deck, and then some other features that we'll add. We have no plans to become a CRM. That is not our goal. We will integrate with CRMs if you do not want to live inside of our platform for execution. We're focused on delivering you the tools and the best business practices, and then who knows what'll happen beyond that. I mean, we listen to a lot of customer feedback. We get a lot of requests. Oh, all of the group contracts that are coming out, group travel terms and conditions for net agencies and gross agencies. We've been selling them offline, but we're going to have the ability to support single purchase products within the next 3 to 4 months. They're building out all of the APIs for that. But if you guys are doing groups, you need the right terms and conditions for your groups, and those will not be part of the membership plans. They are very complex.
I think that's a really good call out because, yesterday, and actually several of the workshops, that's one of the questions that we ask is like, are you specializing in fits? Are you specializing in groups? And I think overwhelmingly, a lot of advisors are moving to the group space and want to focus on the group space. So with that come a unique set of considerations, and terms would be one of those. So knowing that there's a product that's going to specifically cater to that type of market and that type of model is really important. So as soon as that becomes available, I would absolutely love to talk more about that, because we do have a lot of advisors who are wanting to become group specialists, where they not really specialists, but that's what they want to do as their business model. They want to offer curated groups.
Well, we do have it available. It's just you have to email us now, and then we send it, and then you have to upload it to the platform. But soon we'll be able to support it on the platform, where you could just go to the website and it'll be packaged with the group leader agreement if you decide that maybe you don't want TIS and you just want the group products. You'll have the ability to purchase the group products, but we do have our very first customer in TIS. He woke up at 6:30 in the morning and he bought it as soon as the email went out. and owns a huge brick and mortar in South Carolina. All employees, no ICs, and they do massive groups, land and cruise. He has given us, for our TAS members, all of the stuff he has developed over the year to book and keep track of groups, all kinds of checklists, how he does his local radio advertising and bringing in suppliers to the Excel spreadsheets, you name it. So that's on the platform too. But groups are huge, and that is why you need your own E&O insurance, guys. And that's why a lot of people don't understand why they're being pushed over into tour operator status with their E&O, is because there's a downstream effect. And then also upstream, speaking of upstream, net agencies need upstream contracts with their suppliers. So if you're operating as net, you need to provide some sort of a insulation for you with your suppliers, because you are assuming more liability. So having good upstream contracts in place are really important with the suppliers, and we will be bringing those out.
Those are all I'm looking for. Like, my heart's sort of going pitter patter there, Sheila, because I'm looking forward to all of those again. So the beauty, I also want to just sort of bring this all to you all. The beauty is that Sheila and I geek out over this stuff, right? So that you don't have to. Right. So her and I have had many long conversations about these topics and how important these topics are. And so you don't have to become the expert in these topics when you partner with people who are the expert. And that's really what we are hoping to bring. So I obviously am not the partner, the expert in the legal agreement space. Sheila and her team is, but what we help is sort of bridge that gap between making sure that you get those agreements into your workflows. So that's sort of a seamless process for you, so you can do what you love doing, which is designing and getting more people out of town. So with that, if there's not any questions, I'm going to check the chat. Sheila, again, as always, I'm going to also drop in the chat. I've already dropped the chat to the page for Travel Industry Solutions. And if you would like to get our 14-day trial of Travel Pro Suite and you are not already on the platform, go ahead and use that link to get it. And again, what we do is, one of the onboarding questions we ask is, do you have terms? We will help you get your terms implemented inside of the platform once you get your terms identified. So go ahead and sign up for that tomorrow. In tomorrow's session, let me give you just a little bit of a sneak peek of what you can expect on our last and final day of our 3-day workshop. Is we are going to talk about payments and legal terms and features of our system, and a little tips and tricks on how you can make it even better, increase your bottom line in terms of your revenue stream. So really going to be focusing on that tomorrow. And with that, if you are in VIP and you're going to be joining me in our VIP session, which starts in about 11 minutes, I will see you there. And if not, I will see you all tomorrow. Sheila, thank you again. Hugs and kisses. Have a great vacation.
Hugs to you. Thank you. I can't wait. I'll probably call you for my vacation while I'm on
All
the
right.
beach.
I look forward to it. Ladies and gentlemen.